Okay.
What do we need to do? I haven't even thought about an introduction or talking about how we get started on this, but
It's okay.
it's all live anyway, so it's
It's
supposed to be fun.
all live. So we are starting the broadcast right now.
It's all live right
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'm just testing everything, make sure it's working. So we're live. Hey, Nancy. How's it going?
now. Hi, Cindy. It's great. How are you?
Doing good this morning. I'm
Yeah.
excited to connect with you and to learn more about how to financially have a successful business.
Yay. All right. And I'm ready. I'm so ready to teach this. I was just on a call with another one of my clients, and I said, you just have to go through this. I said, it's, once you learn it, it becomes easy. And but the hard part is getting through, the understanding and knowing what you have to put in place in order for it to work. So I'm really excited to be able to share this with you and to help other entrepreneurs.
Yeah, just to let I would say I majority of the time of my growing my business, I've haven't had a good relationship with dealing with my finances and doing the accounting. So it's always been kind of like a thing that I just don't want to look at.
Right.
So, for me, taking the step to learn more about this, I think it's huge for myself, but also, of course, my business too, right? So, because
Yes.
of course, I want my business to be healthy in the long run.
Right. Right. And sometimes, when you're first starting out a business, there's this excitement of, oh, I need to get my business cards and I need to do all these other things. But there's so many other things that you have to do to lay a foundation in order for you to make it successful. Even this morning, I was on a call. It's kind of like a mastermind call. And one of the speakers said, you have to tune into your vision every day in order for you to see what you have. And it's not just that small little vision, but it's a long-term, a big goal that you have. And so once we do that, then it becomes easy. Like you take those small little steps. So,
Right. So, I usually tell myself and friends and past clients, yeah, like what is the vision you want in your lifestyle? But I guess there's also the vision of what you want financially when you get to the specifics and the
right.
finances of your business too.
Yes. Yeah. So, and I don't know if I've shared this with you, but I think of building your business as like building a house, right? You don't just go in and buy materials haphazardly and you don't just start someplace in the middle, right? You have to
Right.
have a plan. You have to build, like, you put that vision that you have onto a blueprint. And then from that blueprint, you take one step at a time. And that's how I look at, if you can relate to that, then you can start to build your business the same way,
Right.
right? So
Yeah. Yeah,
it,
that's awesome. And being able to understand it all too.
yeah. So let's say for you, like what is your what did you have as far as a vision for your business?
For me, I, of course, want my business to be consistent financially. And of course, that takes work with myself to creating the model and marketing it and getting some clients. But also, with my business, I want to sustain me long term. So I want to know how to, properly set it up in a way where it keeps me secure, safe.
Right.
I know where to invest it. And yeah, and I'm not really too, I would say, adverse in taxes and accounting, for example. But if there's a way I can set it up where I know to keep it simply organized and where I'm protected, that's great. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
so
So if we were to, so say, how about this? We start to look at your business and we start to, with the foundational, start with the framework and stuff like that, and then build on it. And by the time I get to teaching you all of this stuff, you'll have your business really fully functioning, operating, and without hesitation as to, am I doing it right? So
Right.
yeah, because I think sometimes, when you take a step and it's like, okay, wait, that didn't work, or maybe I'm doing it the wrong way. If you knew that someone was behind you telling you that this is the way a successful business is run, and these are the things that you need to do, and the steps that you need to implement, um, then you just keep working it, because little by little, you'll have this whole business put together um, by the time you're done with all the steps. It's just the same thing like your house. You have to take one step at a time, right? But the steps and the order in which they're taken is critical,
Yes.
right? So let's say, for example, we'll do the house first and then we'll do your business. Okay. So say, for example, when you're starting to figure out what do you want your house to look like, right? You have to imagine, is it 1 story, 2 story? Is it how many bedrooms am I going to have? How many bathrooms, and like what city am I even going to have it in, right?
True.
So these are the things that you have to think about in your business. Like, what do you want your product or service are you going to have? And is it going to be online or physical location? Do you want the type of platform, like if you're going to teach or you're going to do live events, all of those things. And then you have to think about the like, is this just my starter home, or is this going to be a home that is the rest of my life, right?
Right.
Because all of those things determine the actions that you're going to take for the future. So if it's just a starter home, you're not going to plunk all your money into investing into it. If this is just a starter home, right? You're going to say, okay, I'm going to just do the basics, and then eventually I'm going to move up.
So, say, for
It's
example, like if someone or myself, I do have a business right now, but I don't see myself doing or having this particular business long term. Then maybe what if I sell it down the road or I start another
right,
business, right?
right. Yeah, and see, that makes all the difference, because if you're planning to grow this business and turn around and sell it, it's a whole different model than if you're saying, okay, this is my business and I'm going to keep it and I'm going to pass it on to my children or other family members. And even if you're going to be bringing in additional partners, you're going to have to think about those things all along the process, because those systems that you put in place, or the finances, like some people will say, okay, I'm going to reinvest all of my profits back into the company to make it grow, right? Then there'll be other people who say, I'm going to take those profits and I'm going to put them into my investment, retirement, or whatever.
Right.
But ultimately, the money that you make off of your business, you're going to either reinvest it, or you're going to save it for retirement, or you're going to create another company so that you can do other things. And maybe it might even be a nonprofit organization down the road that you want to create. So these are all the things that we work with you to set you up for success.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I'm curious. So along your experience doing this work for the many years you've been doing this, what have you seen business owners, entrepreneurs, most of them start at, and how have they set up their business to create the success they have now? Like what has been like the process, I would say, or what has been like the most common theme that you've seen that you've helped people in?
the most common is, like, most of the time you start your business just at least to get you have some freedom in your life, right?
Right.
It may be time freedom, it may be money freedom, but just the thought of being able to have that freedom. So most people will start out, they start out very small. You have to start out with one client, right? Everybody has to start out with one client
Right.
in some one way or another, right? And so it depends on how quickly you can leverage what you have, your either product or service, how quickly you want to leverage that, because the leveraging part is where you'll grow your business to what you want to be more than 6 or 7 figures, right? If you never get your business leveraged, you'll have a glorified job that
Oh,
has
yeah,
become
we don't want that, right? That's why
right,
we
right.
all became entrepreneurs and business owners.
Right, right. Because that'll give you the time, maybe not even the time freedom, but it'll give you flexibility, right?
Right.
But you have to be able to scale your business. And so that portion of it requires that you put systems into place,
Okay.
right? In order for you to leverage yourself, you have to put systems into place, and so that it makes it easier for you to say, for example, for the coaches and even professionals, right? You have a contract. So if you have a contract that's a template, right? Then you can automatically fill those in, send the template out. Imagine if you had to do a template or an engagement letter or a contract every time you had a client and you typed it up manually,
Mm-hmm.
right? That would take you so much time that you'd never get to the work that you need to do, right? So these are like putting these systems in place in order for you to be able to utilize your time in a better way.
Right.
Okay. Now, there are certain things where I don't know if you've ever heard people say, do you work on your business or in your business? Have you ever heard that?
That one actually is not as common as I've heard other ones where I've heard people say, oh, do you work for your business or does your business work for you? Something like that.
Right, right. And that is the part where they're talking about really learning how to leverage things, right? So working in your business, right? That means, like for me, I'm an accountant, right? So I work in my business, but I also work on my business, right? So
Right.
this conversation that we're having right here is working on my
On
business, right? Because I'm getting people familiar with my work, right? I'm going out and talking about, the services that I provide. But working in my business, I'm actually doing the tax work and the accounting and tax planning with my clients.
right.
So
Cool.
so yeah, that is where you're able to leverage yourself. Now, going back though, if you don't have your business set up correctly, you're not going to know what systems you need in place, right?
True. That's the part I feel most people are, wanting to learn more about or they have struggles with because they don't know what systems
Right.
are in place. Especially, lots of entrepreneurs, if they're just starting, their business is always changing
Right.
until it gets to a point where they do build a system of consistent business that's like, it's the same over time. But
Yes. So let's say that you're starting out your business, and a lot of times when you first start your business, most of them will start out as a sole proprietor, which is a 1040 Schedule C, right? So first things you want to do is to set up a system like, okay, you have a process to do the work that you're supposed to do, right? To collect the income, and you have to record all your expenses. So one of
yeah,
the things that I recommend to all of my entrepreneurs is to immediately start setting up a system of tracking your income and expenses. So I happen to like QuickBooks only because it's one of the easiest and the most affordable softwares, and it does a lot for what you get for the price
okay,
that you pay. Because it easily tracks, like you would look at the picture of a check, and most people know how to fill out a check. They would fill in the boxes, and then it's recorded for you. So you're able to track your finances immediately.
right,
You can see the results after each month, because if you wait until a year from now, say we're almost to the end of 2016, and if you haven't recorded your income and expenses, how would you know what to adjust in your business? Maybe you're overspending, or maybe you're not generating enough income. Maybe you're
right,
spending, maybe you're putting your expenses in the wrong, focusing on the wrong thing, right? So that portion of doing that record keeping, it may seem overwhelming, but there's ways that, I am going to be doing little videos on that kind of stuff too, within my private Facebook group called Wealth Builders Inner Circle. And in there, I'm teaching them, because those are the critical things, even though they seem like they don't give you income, right? You
Right.
only want to focus on things that give you income, but in actual, if you realize that having it organized saves you time, because time is money,
That's
all
true.
right? And having it organized and being able to make adjustments on an earlier basis rather than waiting 9 months to a year later,
Yeah.
you can make the adjustments immediately within a week, within 30 days. You can make an adjustment, know what you have to do to tweak your business.
Yeah, that's a great, great, great reminder because I know I am guilty of that. Doing things last minute at the end of the year or right before, right before April 15th. I'm just trying to gather all my information, which ends up being, not a fun experience. And I'm just kind of
Right.
frantically getting my receipts and counting all my, deposits and all that. But in the last, I would say, few months, I'm developing a new habit where every 2 weeks, every other Tuesday, I call it my, money date or your money prosperity date. I have a date with my money.
Yes. Yes.
Just
Very
kind of trying
good.
to learn to build a relationship with it. And
Right.
so doing that actually I have seen personally, like, whoa, like this is where I'm spending, this is where I shouldn't be spending. And, just getting into the habit, I think is important because I
Right.
that most people haven't built this habit. We don't look at our money from a non-judgmental standpoint. And then just being able to get in a habit of organizing it without having to worry about the amount, I think is crucial. And then I'm able to see, okay, how much income will I see myself coming in next month? How much expenses do I need to, lessen on? So, but yeah, this is a great reminder just for anyone starting out is to get into that habit. I mean, I've already seen it for myself in the past few months. Like it's helpful, but sticking to it, that's the hard part that
Yeah.
I'm having challenges with.
Right. And I think if you think about business cycles, okay, we in accounting, we always work on month end. If you've ever heard people say it's month end or it's quarter end.
Um,
So
Quarter
if you
end, yes.
quarter end. Okay, so that basically, because quarter end means every quarter an entrepreneur needs to be paying estimated taxes. Okay. And so that is why we work in either the month, because once you finish the month, then you can start to look at your books and then adjust, right? So either you do it monthly or quarterly, but if you get into that regular habit of doing that, it just becomes natural.
Right.
It's like, oh, it's month end, I need to set aside this time, and there's no other excuse, because if I make this as a primary purpose, then you're going to be focusing on your money and making money,
Right. So you're
right?
saying every month when you say to track the books, like what does that include when you say
That includes, like, you would record all your income, record all your expenses, and even if you use your personal money to pay for some of your expenses, you can treat those as a capital contribution. Like if you charge something on your personal credit card rather than your business,
right?
then you treat it as a capital contribution, but you can record those expenses. And now, um, even though because you want to keep your business expenses and your income separate from your personal, but
Right.
sometimes you don't have a credit card for your business yet, you can treat it as a capital contribution and record it in your books that way.
Right. So good example because I don't have my own like business checking account or business credit card yet, but I do have
Right.
two uh checking accounts. Um and I'm just differentiating one for personal, one for business, but it's not necessarily
Right.
like an actual business account. But I've created two accounts so that way I can have one card for this, one card for that. And yes, like I have made mistakes. I've used my personal card to pay for
Uh-huh.
business expenses or vice versa.
Right.
So, But I think just doing
Yeah.
it alone is already getting me into the habit. So
Right, and there's nothing wrong with it because most entrepreneurs will start their businesses out as a sole proprietor,
right.
and in the very beginning they do have a little bit of commingling. But I'll tell you, if you can energetically separate and put create a separate business account and everything runs through there, it makes it really clean. Because then you
Hmm.
say, oh, there's no question. I know that this is a business expense, or this was business income. Because if you imagine like you have your personal account, right, and then you're borrowing money back and forth or whatever, and 9 months down the road because you haven't done your bookkeeping, it's hard to remember,
It
right?
is hard to
It's
remember. We've
it's
been all
really hard to remember.
been there.
Yeah, so that's why we like, if you just separate it, even if you can't do it right away, you can, that it's a business income or expense, right?
Okay.
And then it makes it really easy. It's like QuickBooks allows you to set up what they call bank feeds, where you can actually download your transactions. So even if it's cumbersome for you to learn, you can just download that information into your QuickBooks, and now you have it all set up.
Right. So I have a quick question. What if, okay,
Uh-huh.
say someone hasn't been tracking their expenses or their income every month and they are scrambling every 6 months or every 8 months. So say someone right now is probably watching this. So what do you suggest they do to get organized and make it easy for them?
So here's what I do, because like I'm because I don't have time to always take care of my own books because I'm taking care of everybody else's.
Uh-huh.
So here's what I do. I always like, I separate my income from my expenses. So right there, that's when you go to do something. Um, when you're doing one thing and you're doing constantly doing it, it gets faster, right? You're what do they call that? Like um, I forgot. Um, I can't think of the word now. But when you're doing the same thing over and over, you get faster at it because you're not having to do, like, if I post an income account, then I post an expense, then I post an income, right? It's going to take me slower because I'm jumping back and forth between the two. But if I do all of my income and put it into one pile and start recording them, now I'm recording every income item, and it just gets into a flow and you get done faster.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's true.
So what I do is, like, I will set up one folder for all of my income, and I set up one folder for all my expenses, right? Then as your business grows, you're going to need to separate these things, because maybe you have clients who are on a contract and pay you um,
Monthly.
monthly payments, and
Hmm.
then there's people who pay you right away and the full contract is done, right? So what you can do is separate now your income for those people who are on contracts into one folder, and those
Okay.
people who are paid entirely for the entire contract in another folder.
Okay.
Okay, the same thing for like your expenses. As you pay them, you move them into another folder that says I've already paid these, and then when the bills come in, you put those into another folder. We call those actually accounts payables. So you put those into a folder, and then you know that these are bills that are coming due.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
you kind of start to develop a system of, oh, okay, once I've collected the money, I can move it into these invoices are paid, or once I've paid this bill, I can move it into an expense, bills that have been paid, and then I know what bills I have coming due, right? So then that allows you to look at, oh, I have these many bills to pay, and I only have this much in contract income coming in. I've got to go out and develop some more income.
Right. Or other way around, right? It's like, oh, well, I should probably cut out certain expenses I don't need or something.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Or
Yeah.
just make more money.
Yes, yes. Now, one of the things that I think it's hard for when entrepreneurs get going is like developing that steady stream of income, so it's not inconsistent and your cash flows up and down, right?
Right.
So
That's the
what?
one thing I think a lot of entrepreneurs probably dance with often is how to have that cash flow constantly without having to worry about it going up and down every other month.
Right. So let me tell you, when I first started my business, um, I I didn't quit my job because I was working for another CPA at the time, and I just gradually started growing my business, right? So, but I took on, when I first started, I said, okay, these are the clients that I want to work with.
Right.
And those clients that I chose to work with were QuickBooks clients because I loved the software, right? So if you can find in your business a thing that you love to do, that you could just easily do it without taking a lot of effort, and you look at, how do I serve my clients with this? And can I get enough clients that I work with on a regular basis that I could do this on, call on them? You know, not every, they might not come to you every month, but they would come to you maybe 2 or 3 times a year, even that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you develop a group of people who now become your consistent clients. So say, for example, what is it that you like to do, Cindy? That you, I know I'm probably kind of pushing you in an area that probably never even thought of, you know, what, as far as your business.
Uh-huh.
But I could just see it in you that this is a natural for you. Like, even for you to set up this call and do live, this is something that you're natural at doing. And
Well, I mean,
and so,
yeah, I love bringing people together. I love helping people who have a really strong message to bring out into the world, to connect. I'm a connector naturally, and I've
uh-huh,
seen that my whole entire life. And if I could connect friends together, or potential business partners together, or people that work on a project together, like I'm just
right.
naturally that connector.
So say, for example, okay, so based upon what you just told me, like, if you're a natural connector, what would it be like if you held a monthly mastermind and charged a fee for connecting people together? Do you see how you could have a consistent income every month by
Right.
doing that?
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And see, through that, you know, and then I think that's how they do the leverage with the live events and things like that too, right? They get people in, but now you can joint venture with other people through that mastermind.
Right. Makes sense. Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you
And
know,
see, and so you would bring in other people who specialize in certain areas, and now you've got like a theme where you can connect. Like, say, for example, if you're doing online live streams and stuff, so you would bring in maybe a virtual assistant,
right.
um, bring in a digital marketer,
Yeah,
bring
other
in, and
guest
all of these
speakers.
people. Right.
Hmm. You know, it's
Right.
funny. I have actually thought about this. I thought about doing like a high-end mastermind, like maybe if possible a year long, where people can, you know, other entrepreneurs can come together, learn the art of growing their community, you know,
Right.
filming events, and also learning from other teachers and coaches too, where we, you know, go once or twice a year to on a retreat as well, which will be included in the mastermind. I have thought about that. It's funny that you mention it because it's just been kind of like an idea, but you know,
Right. Right.
yeah,
But, you know, and one of my mentors always said, you know, even though you pick out something, it doesn't mean it's for the rest of your life. She would say to me, you have to pick a horse and ride it. And if you ride it and you like it, then fine. If you don't, go get on another
you can
horse,
get off of
right?
it.
Yes, you can get off of it. So there's nothing is set in concrete, because as you evolve, your things are going to come up, because, like, as an entrepreneur, really, it's a journey in your life. You know, I did a telesummit a few years ago, and that's all I could think about was your journey in your business is part of your journey in your life. And as you become more in tune with who you are, what your soul's purpose is,
Right.
and what it is that that all of the things that you love to do come together into one piece. It takes time for you to uncover all that stuff. So for me, it took me a while. It's like, I like to cook, I like to travel, I like to do all these different things. It's like, how can I incorporate these things? So like, you know, and I love real estate. So, you know, this part about how to build a house came to me, and it was like, and then you talk about doing the added services within your business. It becomes like, now you get to do the interior decorating, right? And then the advertising and the marketing I was looking at was like, well, that's like the painting and the landscaping of your home. Right? If
Yeah.
you can think about those things in a way that, like, this is my business, but this is my dream, and this is how I want it to come out looking like, right?
Right. Yeah, you have to have that vision, especially if, it's just, it's nice to have that vision to what your business is going to be financially too. So,
Right, because ultimately, if you can only if you see the bigger picture, right, you're going to work towards that bigger picture, right? If you only see, oh, I've got to get this done just so I can do my tax return, that's all you'll get done, right? So if you say, okay, the reason I'm doing this bookkeeping every month, because I'm setting aside, is because I'm setting a foundation for me in the long term, because I'm
yes.
doing this. It's like why do you brush your teeth every day, right? It's so your teeth don't fall out, right? It's like,
Yeah, I don't want any bad teeth.
right. So it's like, if I just discipline myself, and I know that I'm record keeping, and I'm record keeping for a reason, because down the road I'm going to have this awesome house, or I'm going to be able to travel wherever I want. It's that vision is going to pull you forward and get you disciplined to want to sit down and do these books, right? and and there's a lot of resources out there. Like, as I said, I'm going to be teaching these things, and I want you guys to reach out to me, because ultimately this was my goal. I want, and I understand this, the more financially empowered you are, the better off the whole society is, right? If we're
Mhm.
all broke, and we focus on the government has to feed us, right? But
Yeah.
it's when we become financially empowered, we're able to make better choices. We're actually the ones back in control of the government, because the government only gets money from us entrepreneurs. Okay? So when we're financially able to say, no, government, we're going to take back and control, and we are going to tell you what we want, then we're able to make a difference, right?
Yeah, I like that. I mean, plus, I feel being financially empowered gives you more of that freedom versus having to feel like you're being controlled by some other entity. It's just like you have full choice in how you want to live your
Yes,
life.
right.
And,
Yeah, and
yeah,
then, and as it goes back to when you were saying, you feel stressed in at April because you haven't gotten it all done. One of the things that people don't realize is that when you are stressed, and you're in a bind, you actually spend more money, because you have to pay extra to get it done in a hurry, right? Or because you lose out on discounts because you don't have the funds available. It's all of those things, but there's little things, bits and pieces, that create this kind of a problem, I guess, what you call. Um, but the more that you're ahead of the game and practicing and putting these things in place, and always thinking of, well, do I if I have the funds available, then I can purchase it. If I don't, let's
right.
wait until. And so you can really sit back and think these things through thoroughly, instead of making last minute decisions.
Right, making, wiser, smarter choices and making decisions based on, the predictions you actually have versus like, oh, well, I'm not sure how I'm going to be doing in the next week or 2 weeks. Because
Right.
sometimes that happens, right? We just blindly spend or whatever
Yeah.
it is without knowing what's going to be happening soon in our financial outlook,
Right.
weather
And
report.
when you set that foundational of, oh, I can count on this income because I know I've put this into place, you can say, okay, if I have extra income, then I can start to move forward and invest in other areas. If I'm just barely making it, it's like, what do I need to do to increase my income or either cut back on my expenses for the
Right.
time being? And it's not a this will never happen. It's just not ready yet, right?
Right. Yes. 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 I'm glad you're mentioning all this because yeah, I'm, structuring myself to be financially empowered for the long term. 'Cause I do have long term goals of how much I want to save. I want to invest my money as well. And so,
Right.
aside from having those two checking accounts that I have, like a Capital One 360 where I'm, monthly, there's an automatic deposit going into like a savings there into like
Right.
my savings I don't touch is going to keep growing, as well as maybe like I also have an emergency fund, one for taxes, so
Right.
multiple different you know sections of what I have, and then I'm constantly taking a look at it maybe every 2 weeks, and that
Good.
makes me feel good because every 2 weeks when I take a look at it, I'm like, oh, like my money is in there and I'm actually growing money, and
Yes.
I don't see it every day.
Right. Right. And if you get into that habit, which is great that you're putting it away, because it's like, if you put it away and never have to think about it and just constantly do it, before you know it's grown and it's like, oh my gosh, I had no idea, right?
Right.
That I was growing this money. So it's a good thing. So one of the other things too that, as you're talking about saving on money, one of the things that I want to caution entrepreneurs is when they set up as a sole proprietor, that when you start to make money in your business, you could end up paying a lot of income taxes because you're
Oh yeah.
proprietor. So one of the things that I teach people is, let's look at what your long-term goal is with your business, because it doesn't. There's a point where it wouldn't make sense for some people to set up as a S corporation or a C corporation. Now, I don't recommend an LLC, and there's several different reasons, but we can talk about that at some other time. But as a sole proprietor, you have to pay an additional 15.3% of taxes on top of your regular income tax. And
Oh wow.
that is to cover for your Social Security and Medicare. But
Right.
if and those portions, there's a little bit of a deduction for it, but that will never go away as long as you're making money on your sole proprietor business. Okay.
Right.
Whereas when you incorporate, you have that option of taking a salary, and then it comes on your W-2 as a W-2 income, because now you're an employee of a corporation. Whereas as a sole proprietor, you are not an employee, you're just the owner.
Okay.
So that there is a tax savings on doing that. So this is why I like to have everybody, set that foundation in place, to think about who are your clients, what do you plan to do with your business, what do you, see in the long term, how much wealth do you want to build, because are you looking to bring in partners, investors, are you, do you want to create another nonprofit organization which your company can actually support? So you talk, like Bill Gates, or some of these artists, right? They all create foundations or nonprofit organizations because they're bringing in so much money that they create these nonprofit organizations to fund them because they get a deduction on it.
Got
So
it.
these are a lot of the tax planning techniques that we can do, but in order to do those, we need to know like the foundation of
Okay.
what you want to do with your business.
Okay, so basically what I'm hearing is, but depending on what you want to do with your business, that's going to determine what you're going to be registering your business as, right? Like a sole
Yes.
proprietor or, okay.
Right. And
Okay.
that's another thing that I sometimes mention to people is, when you're starting your business out, the sooner you know the type of entity that you want, the better off you are. Because, say for example, when I incorporate, because I was a sole proprietor for many years until I realized, what, I'm tired of paying self-employment tax.
Okay.
I could have been banking that, $6,000 and $7,000 every year. So imagine that for 15 years, right?
Wow.
I could have been banking that, but at the time I was like, I don't know if I want to hold on to my accounting practice, how long I'm going to do this, right? So when I realized it, it's like, okay, now I need to incorporate, right? I didn't want to incorporate, and part of this is like learning about yourself. Like, I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want to be out there in the limelight or anything like that. So I didn't incorporate my name. But you can, right? You can incorporate your business as your name. Or
So like Cindy Manette Incorporated.
yes, you could, right? So I said, you know what? I'm gonna name my business Crystal Clear Profits, right?
Okay.
Because it was like, this is because when I first created mine, I was like, I want another organization. And I think now that I've had the time to grow, I think I am going to activate that organization. But ultimately I wanted to create a business that covered your life, your finances, and your health. And so I had started this company called Life Finance and Wellness.
Okay.
And I just recently closed it because I said, you know what, I don't have time to take care of it. But as I started to go through all of the things, that I realized, no, this was my deepest passion, was to create this, because when you have your life in order, your finances in order, your health is in order.
It's, yeah.
Yeah. And
The whole
so
picture.
I said, you know what, now I'm ready, and I'm ready to create that. But when I went to create my Crystal Clear Profits, I had to see if there was another company and there was a domain name open for that.
Right.
Because if nobody's going to have your name, right, it's usually you're going to have your own name. But somebody who's spiteful and just wants to, because they do that. There's mean people everywhere, right? They could say, you know what, I'm going to take this business and I'm going to take this domain name and I'm going to call it cindymanit.com. And if she wants it, she has to pay me,
Oh, wow. No.
right?
Yeah, that'd be
But that's the,
terrible.
that. But that's the kinds of things that happen in real life. Not everybody sees that, but that's a possibility. So when I did my Crystal Clear Profits, I said, let me check, let me Google it to see what comes up if I type in Crystal Clear Profits, and nothing came up. And so when I searched on the Secretary of State, nothing came up. So it's like, okay, it's good. It's green light. I can go ahead and incorporate with that name. But
Okay.
there might be names that you choose as a sole proprietor that somebody else already has that name. And so
Right.
when you go to incorporate, now you've got to start all over. You've got to start from scratch to build your business back up.
So, okay,
So
okay. So what you're saying is if someone else has the name of my business, I can't I
you
can't
can't,
take that obviously,
right.
but okay, let's say that I want to name my business Cindy is Awesome Incorporated. And if
Mm.
someone has that domain name, but they haven't registered their business as an entity, would that give me any rights or anything to take that name?
You could take it, you could do it with the Secretary of State, register as a business in California, but you couldn't take that domain name. You would have to buy it from the person that has your domain.
Right.
Yeah. So those are some of the things that are behind the scenes that people don't always see, that there's a thought process to it, because any mistake, just like in you're building your house, any mistake that you have, right, now you've got to go back to the drawing board and change it, right? So
Okay.
it's better to lay it all out in the very beginning. Then okay, I have this, I've already checked out this, I can do this, I can move forward with all your permits and everything. That, yeah, I have the licensing, I've got the domain name, I can move forward with all of these things.
Okay. And then, so if for most of us we're sole proprietors right now, and is there a moment when you should switch over to a different entity, or you just, you know, I mean, when would be the best time to do that?
Yeah, well, okay. So I guess it really depends upon your individual tax situation.
Uh-huh.
There's sometimes if you're say if you're married or you have a house or whatever, and you're making quite a bit of income, the moment you make a small amount in self-employment income, say like $5,000, you probably want to start looking at switching over.
Okay.
Whereas a person who's making maybe $50,000 and you don't have much other, um, you might have a small amount of tax, because there's a trade-off between, if you choose to be incorporated, there's an additional tax return you have to file, and then there's the minimum franchise fee of $800 that you have to pay, and then you have to remember to file with the Secretary of State your annual filings. So
Okay.
there's a trade-off between that versus a really simplified version of your 1040 with a Schedule C. The reason is because, like, if you like I said, if you start to make around 50 or 60,000, you're paying about $5,000 $6,000 in self-employment tax.
If I was
And
a sole proprietor, right?
right.
Right.
And so
A lot.
that's yeah, it's a lot, because on top of that you have your regular tax. So you could end
Right.
up in the state of California literally paying about 55% of your money in taxes.
Right. And that's including like other tax like medical or social security, right?
Well, that includes your Social Security and
Yeah.
your Medicare tax, but it doesn't include all your other things, your licensing and all of those. Those are on top of that to operate your business. So it can get, pretty costly to operate your
So
business.
I eventually want to, let's just say, so this, it makes sense for me to eventually go incorporated then, right?
Right, right. Yeah.
But what if I decide to like, hey, I don't want to have my business for more than 5 years?
Well, then you can choose to liquidate the corporation, or
Okay.
you can actually, there's some people who um, who name their corporations, like you could name it Cindy Manet Enterprises, right? So
Okay.
it's a generic name. Like mine, I wanted it specifically to be focused on accounting, right? But you'll see, like, some businesses will incorporate as an enterprise, and that way they can use that corporation for another entity or another type of business.
Okay.
So that corporation is like, imagine it like a house, right? But you can have different rooms would be like your different businesses.
Got it. Okay.
Okay, so
Wow.
you can always just change that out. Like, I don't want to do business coaching anywhere. I want to just focus on masterminds. It's still Cindy Manor Enterprises.
Right.
Yeah.
This is, I think this is awesome. I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs have these kind of questions all the time. So,
Right.
I mean, even just having that as like a step by step guide or something, just on just the entity alone is like one huge topic. And then like
Right.
how to keep your finances organized and
Yes.
building habits. So it's just like, oh yeah,
Right.
and planning your financial future. There's like so many different
Yes.
maps to all of it.
Right.
So,
Right. Yeah, and there's, not only that, but there's a lot of due dates that come into play.
mm,
Um, as an entrepreneur, it's like, for me, there's a deadline for me every single month that I
okay.
need to be concerned about, and they're all on the 15th of the month.
Okay.
So if you can remember, the 15th of the month, there's a deadline. Um, but usually, like, your quarterly taxes are due on the 15th of the,
Right.
so like and by quarters we break it down, like, you've got April 15th, June 15th, September 15th, and January 15th of the following year. So those are like our quarters of when your estimated taxes are due.
Wow.
So
So,
that in
yeah, that
keeping
just like
your
totally overwhelmed me.
sorry, I will put that in the Wealth Builders, in the Facebook group. So
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just,
I
just
mean,
like knowing that we all are so busy already with our businesses and helping our clients and like building our own business. And we have to also think about
right.
every 15th of the month. It just seems like a lot. So
Yeah.
I don't know what tip you have right now for busy entrepreneurs to really stay on top of, their money game every month.
Yeah, it's about building discipline and looking at that. But to get a professional to to
Absolutely.
constantly remind you, that's why I am going to be posting those in the Wealth Builders inner circle, so that people can get that email or that Facebook reminder to, hey, it's time. I need to do this. I need to get these taxes paid.
That's a good
You know,
idea. That's a really
you
good
know.
idea.
But just little things like that, that's why I'm here, is as a resource for people to, hey, I have this situation, what do I do? There's even, I used to get a lot of questions, like people would say, should I lease my car or should I buy it? And I would say, well, it depends. And it always depends on what your whole goal is, how, just various different things. So
Yeah.
it's not as easy as it seems, but I don't want you to abdicate your things, but just get knowledge, become knowledgeable in the stuff, and just so that hey, there might be something that I need to ask, you
Right.
know, whoever helps me do my taxes, or as my resource, like, do I need to be concerned about this? Right?
Wow.
It's just to get you thinking, like, is this something that's gonna make a difference in my business or not?
Yeah.
Right?
Great. Yeah, this is awesome. So,
So
yeah, we have about almost 5 minutes left. What is, I guess my question is, my main big question, like, um, if you were to give your biggest tip, advice for entrepreneurs to have a financially successful business that's great, what would be like your biggest theme, advice, or tip?
um well, I think probably for now it's like you have to do the record keeping. I think that's the most critical, because without the record keeping you can't make any kind of adjustments in your business.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like I said, it's learning, eventually learning how to read those numbers that are in the financial statement, because that financial statement tells you a lot.
Right.
With if you don't understand, you would look at them and say it's just a bunch of numbers. But when you learn how to read those financial statements, becomes a whole different thing of learning how to adjust in your business. Like, they call them key metrics in your business. So, like, if you say, for example, in some companies where their labor costs are high, right? Like, say, for example, a restaurant, right? There's not a whole lot of margin for, if you have employees are your biggest cost, right? And food, right? So if you're not able to manage those costs after you put them together in a financial statement, if you didn't track them at all, right, you could end up closing your doors in a very short time,
That's
right?
true. Yeah.
Okay. So in order for a business to be successful, right, they have to know those numbers. So when they're looking at them, there's like, okay, we're spending way too much on employees. We have to figure out, how do we manage our employees so that they can so that they can do their job more efficiently,
Right.
right? And then it's, how do we keep those costs down so that we're not wasting the food, so
That's
that we're able to make a profit, right? And none of that would be possible without tracking those numbers.
cool. All right. Yeah. So
Okay.
if anyone's watching this, make sure you're tracking your numbers starting today.
Yes. And one last thing before we go, because it's the end of the year, you've got 30 days to do some tax planning, right?
That's true.
So, and I would recommend that you get your finances into an accounting software. Like I said, QuickBooks is my favorite. Get it in there as soon as possible, because then you have 30 days to make an adjustment, because you can end up having to pay taxes. And if you don't do it before December 31st, you're out of luck. Okay?
All right. And then
All
you
right.
said you also have your Facebook group, the Wealth Builders
Inner
um,
circle.
Inner
Well,
Circle, right? Okay,
right.
great. And we can
Yeah.
join your group. And if we have any questions regarding accounting or bookkeeping or just finances in general, we could just ask questions in there.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And if you guys enjoyed it, please let us know, because I don't mind doing this. I enjoyed doing it with Cindy, as I'd like to see her take her business, and we can use hers as an example and just kind of keep continuing to make it grow.
Yeah, that'd be
Okay.
awesome. A
All
business
right.
in action.
Yes.
Yeah, if anyone is watching and you want to be part of the Wealth Builders Inner Circle on Facebook, I will leave a link in the comments of this video later. And yeah, you could also just search on Facebook. You can search for Nancy Lee Ma. You can search for myself, and you can message us or just search on Facebook for the group. It's Wealth Builders Inner Circle, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
correct.
okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
All
Awesome.
right.
Thanks,
Very
Nancy.
cool.
That was really
Thank
helpful. Good
you.
first
Good.
day of this conversation. I know there's a lot more to learn, but yeah, we don't want to overwhelm everybody. So,
Right, right.
myself.
Yes. All right. All
All
right.
right.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
All right.